Hi everyone. So in this video let's discuss what is Git and what is GitHub, and as well as let's understand the basic difference between Git and GitHub, and as well as let's try to create a basic repository right in GitHub. So it's a complete beginner friendly video. If you don't know what is GitHub, so that's fine. In this video let's understand what is Git and GitHub. So before going to the video, make sure to like the video and as well as subscribe to the channel. So before going to GitHub, you just want to understand Git. So you can see in the word GitHub, we just have Git, right? What is Git? So Git is a version control system. So what is version control? So version control in the sense, it's a type of let's say system or let's say program which is responsible for managing or let's say track your project, right? So that's version control. So like how it is useful. So let's understand this with an example. So for example, let's say you're just working on a project, right? Let's consider that if the project has 3 functions, like we just want to build 3 functions for that application. So it's just an example. So we have 3 team members. So 3 members are working independently on 3 different functions. So I'm just working on function A, and other is working on function B, and the other guy is working on function C, right? We 3 are working on 3 different functions independently. Now we all have created the 3 functions. Now we just want to add it to the main project, right? And also you just want to track the progress, right? What's the changes you just made on today, on this particular date, on this particular day, what's the changes you just made, right? So you can just track all the details, like all the details what you're just working on a project, right? So that's how useful it is to use Git. So that's a Git, and that's fine. Git is tracking the changes, right, and adding or deleting the files, etc. Now what is GitHub? So it's a cloud-based service which is used to host your code. Let's take the same example. So your 3 team members are working on 3 different functions. Now I just said you, right, you just want to combine all the 3 code into main function, main project, main repository, right? So how can you just do that? So there should be some cloud application so that from your local computer you can able to you can just work on that different functions, and you can just push that to one main project, right? So for that you just want a cloud platform or cloud service. So that's GitHub. So Git is a version control system where you used to work with the changes or let's say tracking the project, etc. And GitHub is a cloud service where you can just push all the code, all the changes, all the things which you just made on that project to an cloud service, right? Cloud service, so that everything will be available online. So whenever you just want to take that project, or let's say just want to build on top of that, you can just use GitHub to do that, right? So that's the difference between Git and GitHub. So let's understand this Git and GitHub with a general basic example. So for example, let's take YouTube, right? So we just have every person used to create videos. So most of the creators used to create videos and used to upload to YouTube, right? So let's take that example as Git. So we are just making videos, we are making editing, creating thumbnails, all we are just creating, right? After creating all those things, we are just pushing to that YouTube, right? For all the people to view, or for all the viewers, right? So let's consider that creating the videos, creating changes in the videos, editing, creating thumbnails, all these things as a Git. And YouTube, consider YouTube as a cloud platform like GitHub, right? YouTube is a GitHub. So you're just putting all these videos into YouTube, right? So that's, just remember this example, videos as Git and YouTube as GitHub. I hope you understood the difference between Git and GitHub and why we used to use that. So now let's understand how can you just create your own repository, right? So you can see this is my GitHub account, and if you haven't have a GitHub account, just try to create one. So I will just try to explain some of the features which is present in this GitHub. So some of the most important and as well as most commonly used features. So these are the things like I just added all the details, and as well as you can see even this file is also added by me. So this defaultly will not be available. So this is another different thing. We are not concentrating on that. So you can see here I just have some repositories. So what's the meaning of a repository? So in GitHub, repository in the sense it's where we used to create our projects and where we used to track those projects. So you can see the repositories here. So if you want to work, just try to create a repository and just work on that. So I will just show you how can you just create your repositories. So here are my repositories, so which I just let's say which I just created myself, and as well as which I just contributed, right? So that's fine. These are the repository. And for example, let's say if you just want to create your own repository for your project, so you can just click a new here, and so you can see create a new repository, and you can just add the repository name and as well as the description. So if you just want to make it as public or private, so you can just choose that thing and initialize this repository with a readme file git ignore, right? And choose a license. So most important thing is a readme file. So if you want to describe your project, so it readme file in the sense it will just describe your project, like what project you are just doing. For example, let's say some user want to use, like some user want to use your project, right? If you have a perfect description for your project, it will be easy to understand, right, for them. So that's why it is advisable to create a readme file. So you can see you can just initialize, you can just create a repository and add description, and you can just add a readme file. So that's the important thing. That's how you can just create repository. So I will just create, right? So you can see I'm just creating a repository. So after you create your repository, this is how it will looks, right? Looks like, right? So you can see there are a lot of options, right? The issues, pull requests, actions, projects, etc. But we are not discussing all those things. Just so let it make it simple. Don't go in depth. I will just create another video on complete Git and GitHub tutorial where I will just explain all those things. But for now, you can see. Let's discuss this code thing. So this is the code, like where you can just add your code. And for example, let's say if you just have any project, if you just want to add something, some files, etc. So you can just use add file, like you can just create a new file, or you can just upload a file, so that all the files, all the projects can be stored in cloud, right? Store in GitHub. That's how you can just create. So that's all for this video. So what we have just discussed in this video, we have just discussed what is Git, what is GitHub, what's the difference between those Git and GitHub, and as well as we have just seen how can you just create your first repository. So I hope this video is helpful. If you feel so, make sure to like this video and as well as subscribe to the channel. And with that, I will just see you in the next video. Until then, take care and thanks for watching.